Alcohol Market Challenge. So today we are starting on our final project. How exciting! I am so thrilled with how well you are all doing. You've done an amazing job. I absolutely love all of your projects as well. And I want to show you some cool things. So the first thing we're going to do is grab our last piece of the Ultra Smooth White. And you're going to pop it in your paper trimmer. I'm going to go down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now, when I'm stamping a large image like I'm going to do today now, and you have a choice of either doing an arrangement and masking out, or I'm going to use the big balloon because I haven't used that yet. So when I'm doing a big project and I'm stamping out a large image, I like to cut my cardstock down. Now, the reason is, and it's a little bit of a risky strategy, but for me, I like to know really, you know, where my piece is going to be. Have I got it positioned where I really want it? So for instance, I'm going to position this in the middle, and I'm probably going to have my stem just going off to the side like this. You see, so that's how I'm going to have mine. And I'm using a MISTI just because I want to have that extra security of being able to stamp a couple of times on my final piece if I need to, because this is not my practice piece. So, and then tomorrow we'll continue on this piece. We're not going to work it all in one day. And on the following day, we have a live check-in again. So I hope you'll join me for that. We will be telling you how you can win those amazing giveaway prizes we have as part of the Alcohol Market Challenge. You know, all of those fun things will be in that live. So be sure to join us. You'll get an invite via email as to where it's going to be. You see a really lovely, clear stamped image on there. And now I'm going to give it a good drying. So let's pull that out. Let's pull my stamp out. Pop it back on here. And I'm going to put it in. So you can see really, really simple again. Make sure everything dries in. I'm going to dry both sides because it'll help it uncurl a little bit. Okay, so you see how that looks. Isn't it pretty? Absolutely beautiful. So these stamps are designed by Alex Siberia. I think she did an absolutely amazing, amazing job. Now I'm going to grab my 3 greens and I'm going to start off with my lightest shade. I'm not going to color it all on camera here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out a couple. So I'm just adding my base layer in here. Making sure I have a nice smooth coverage. And I wouldn't worry too much about going into the bud. And the reason I do the green first is because a lot of flowers have a green undertone. So if I make a boo-boo and I go into the buds, I'm not going to worry about that so much. Now I'm going to take my mid, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline those veins. Now you see I went out the line a little bit. I can fix that with my blender pen or with some shadowing. So I'm just tracing over the veins first of all. And then I'm going to add some dark in this area where I think there'd be a shadow. Then I'm going to go back to my light and blend. And then I'm going to my dark. So again, just tracing over, tracing up. Back to my mid. And this leaf is going to be darker just because it's under all of this bud. But if you go too dark, remember you can always bleach back with your blender pen. And then I would let it dry before you do any more. I'm going to take my blender pen here. And I'm going to push this colour back in. It might take me a couple of goes, as I say. I do a little bit, I leave it. Then I'll do a little bit more. Leave it, and I'll just kind of keep evolving the process because I don't want to oversaturate with blending solution and bleach my whole image, which is what you might do. You might end up with like a little bleach mark the whole way around, and we don't want that. Now we have another leaf up here, so we're going to add colour. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of colour in there, and then we're going to leave that little area. Then again, I'm outlining my veins. And I'm going to add a fair amount of colour down here, just because I know that these areas and around here is going to be quite dark. I'm actually just going to jump straight in with my dark on this one, just because it's a small area. So I'm kind of outlining the edge of my bloom. Again, a bit more on my veins. Back to my mid. And back to my light. So you see, shortcut sometimes. It kind of depends on the real estate and the colours that you're dealing with. But again, just a really lovely kind of intense leaf in there. I'm in my lightest, so we can do one of these big leaves. And you notice what I do first is I outline my image. Because if I outline, then it's really easy to fill in the middle. And just through practice, I know that my cardstock's getting saturated. If you want to, of course, you can always check the back and see how you're doing. So I need a bit more on this side. But through practice, you'll start to see when you've got a nice, even amount of ink laid down. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to kind of outline around here because I know that these are going to be shadowy areas. I also know that there's going to be more dark at the top because this is a curled over leaf, so it's going to be lighter in the middle. At the same time, I'm still going to add some details to my veins. And again, I'm just going to go to my dark just because I know on this one I can. And I'm going much finer on this leaf veining. I'm going to add some darker colour in here. And then I'm going to add some shadowing. And sometimes it takes me just those few shades to kind of work out where I want my lights and my darks. You see now how this is starting to come together. I'm kind of leaving that distinct area in the middle very light on purpose. And yeah, I have a few boo-boos because I am colouring fast, which is the biggest thing. But I can fix them with a blender pen too. But again, you see how I've got a very distinct light patch in the middle here. Now, if I wanted to, I could smooth that out more. I do find, and I noticed some of you found the same, when you're taking photos or doing videos of your colouring, your colours look very different on film to how they look in the flesh. Because in the flesh, this doesn't look stripy. And yet I look up, I look at the screen that I can see my colouring on. I'm like, that looks really stripy. But that's not how it looks here. It looks very kind of furled over in that leaf. Maybe I want to... If you go with your lighter colour, you'll find it does lighten up some of those darker shades too. So if you feel you've gone too dark, I can go in here and I can lighten up nicely too. So I really love that leaf. And when you have that bloom against it, that's also going to change the look of those leaves. So again, I'm going to do the same thing in here. Outline, fill in, outline, and fill. So I'm just going around this leaf. And again, outline. And you'll notice now I'm doing 3 leaves at once. That's because I know I can colour before that ink is going to be dry. Now you might want to only do 1 leaf at a time. You might feel confident to do a couple of leaves at a time. But you really can work on whichever, way works for you. Make sure that's nicely saturated. Then I'm going back to my mid shade here. So again, I'm kind of adding, and I'm adding a bit of that half moon in this one. This one I'm going to add some crinkle around the edges and some heavier shadowing in here. So I'm going to do exactly the same. And just by kind of working through the veins, working around the edge of my flower leaf. And you'll find it's a process that refines as you go along as well. So from there, I'm now going to pull out my mid shade a little bit further. Just going to pull that half moon in a bit more. And then I'm going to go back in with my lightest shade, which looks very yellowy limey, I noticed on camera, whereas here it looks like a real leafy, tropically green. And I might just need to sketch in a little bit of those leaves. A little bit too much of a solid line in there. And again, that one's done. So I'm still with my mid shade here. Now I'm going to pull this mid shade. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm in my darker shade. I'm going to go back to my mid shade. I'm colouring that, thinking that doesn't look right. And I'm going to pull quite a lot on this leaf. And on this one, I'm going to go all the way in here. And then pull go to my dark. And you might, just depending on where you place your colour, you might find you need to keep interchanging. But these areas are really small, so you might not need to. And then again, we're going to vein. We're going to pull around where we think there's going to be shadows. Back to mid. So this is where I'm really going through all my colours. And then back to light. And you really see how this now starts to pull together all of our leaves. And blending out, but I've got lots of lights and darks and shades, and I might even refine some of that once I've laid down, you know, my bud too. We're going to do the same with our stem. And actually on my stem I'm going to introduce a little bit of grey, just because I want to change up the shade a little bit. It's a nice light grey, so it doesn't kind of intrude too much. This part here is going to be quite dark, and that's going to be lighter in there. I might even just bleach out a little bit there, so you can see. And how beautiful is that? So today I really want you to start working on whatever you want your final project to be. So if that's one of these stamps in the box, you might want to do an arrangement with the buds and the leaves and do some masking. Whatever your arrangement is, I want you to lay that out on your cardstock. Of course, take a picture once you're done, and then start working on the foliage. So let's instigate, you know, everything we learn. As I say, we might refine that little bit when we start adding color into our bud tomorrow. And then I'm going to give you some of my favorite matting techniques tomorrow as well. So join me then for more information on the coloring challenge. Of course, check out when you get, look out even when you get that invite for our live event. And I'll see you very, very soon. Happy crafting. Bye.